For three players on the Blues, the road to the Olympics, well, folks, it begins.
Hey, this is Braden Chen. Subscribe to Lock On Blues.
You're Locked On Blues, your daily podcast on the St. Louis Blues. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome back to Locked On Blues. I am your host of Locked On Blues, Haley Taylor Simon, talking to you all things about our St. Louis Blues here on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today on Locked On Blues, I am ecstatic to talk to you about Team Canada. And the players that I'm going to be talking about, I'm even more excited to be mentioning one. I am feeling 22. Ooh, ooh. That was bad singing. Not just the engagement today with Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift, but there's another thing about the number 22 that we need to talk about. And folks, it is almost go time. This is the point in the offseason where we really assess where the team is because it seems like right now, hey, no more moves are going to be made. Now, again, that could happen, but doesn't seem likely. So right now, this team, it's almost go time for them. Before I dive into today's episode, as I cannot wait to talk to you about my opening segment, I do want to let you know that today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. A tweet went out today, and I'm going to read you the tweet, and then you and I can discuss. Colton Parayko, Jordan Binnington, and drumroll please, Robert Thomas have been selected to join Hockey Canada's Olympic orientation camp. Colton Parayko, Jay Binns, and our boy Robert Thomas. This is the news I needed on this beautiful Tuesday. For me, I wasn't even doubting Jordan Binnington. I figured that he would be invited. I figured Colton Parayko too. But I was a little bit worried about Robert Thomas just due to the fact that he wasn't involved with the Four Nations face-off. And we basically heard last offseason that Robert Thomas was a name that they might have on the Four Nations face-off team. Evidently, he does get hurt. He was supposed to be out for 4 to 6 weeks. He was only out for 4 weeks because Robert Thomas was grinding to get back to being healthy again. But for me personally, I am so happy for Robert Thomas. And I know what you might be thinking. Hale, don't underestimate how big of a deal this is for Jordan Binnington and Colton Parayko. And I'm not. But it was expected for Binner and Parayko. They both made it to the Four Nations face-off team. You saw Jordan Binnington playing fantastic hockey between the pipes, got Team Canada that win at TD Garden yet again. You know what? Maybe there's a trend. Maybe it's just TD Garden. But overall, we saw a really dominant Jordan Binnington in net. Colton Parayko has been our staple guy on defense for the Blues. No doubt about that. But again, Robert Thomas, and I have talked about this time and time again because I always say that he is underestimated in the NHL. And this is something that dates back for quite a bit where people just underestimate the Blues. And again, I never will understand why the Blues are underestimated. I think that this is a team that has a lot of talent, more talent than I think people even realize about diving deep into this team. So I just want to read some statistics for you. I'm a big stats person because the past couple seasons, Robert Thomas has had over 80 points. But last season, don't forget, he did not play the full 82 last season because he was out for those 4 weeks. He only played 70 games with 21 goals and 60 assists. He also matched the amount of assists that he had the previous season, where he did play all 82 games with 26 goals and 60 assists, as I just stated. And oh, by the way, when it comes to plus and minus, Robert Thomas was plus 20 this season. He played about 20 minutes on ice. Like, he is one of those players that just continues to shine. And I think for me personally, I was a little bit frustrated last season when Robert Thomas was not selected for Team Canada for the Four Nations face-off. Just because I saw how he was, he came back from injury and he looked better than ever. But I guess decisions were made, even though I do not agree with that. So, in a way, this feels like redemption. Also, this is the Olympics. This isn't a tournament, and I'm not trying to say it doesn't mean anything, but this is the Olympics. This is one of the biggest stages that you can play in. Robert Thomas is already a Stanley Cup champion. He won the cup. And you might be wondering, well, what else is there? It's to win another cup, but it's to also be able to represent your country. And in this case, for him, it's Canada. And I know that this is going to mean so much for Robert Thomas. He is a star. He really is. Maybe he's an underrated star. He's our star here in St. Louis. He's the star on the team. But this is a spotlight that he does deserve. Also deserving of being the starting goalie for Team Canada is Jordan Binnington. I think when it comes to Jordan Binnington, I hear from at least a couple other people that I chat with that he's been less emotional this season. And I'm talking about different Blues media members, right? And I think for me, I have just seen a different side to him. Now, of course, we all miss the potential goalie on goalie fights. We miss the emotional Binnington because it's entertaining. But we're seeing now is a contained Jordan Binnington, which is gonna actually be more sustainable in the long run when it comes to how he is as a player. I mean, let's go take a look at his statistics for this past season because it is interesting. He played 56 games. He started in 54, 28 wins and 22 losses and 5 overtimes, overtime loss. So again, he was 900 in net. So I understand that it's a little bit of a decrease from last season, where last season he was um 913. But again, he just is such a consistent goalie. I mean, I don't know what else, and I'm not trying to sound arrogant, but I don't know what else he can specifically do in net to make you like him more. I mean, you look at him, he's improved with goals against, right? I mean, I don't understand. I don't understand. I think when I look at him, right? And I'm looking, it's about 2.6 goals a game compared to last season, 2.8 goals a game. That to me, that's a difference. That's an improvement. I will never understand how you and I can have a conversation about Jordan Binnington and not bring up the fact that he did improve in some aspects. And hey, listen, you had a defense, and I say have and had because it's kind of true. Um, but when your defense in front of you isn't playing the way that they should be playing, in all honesty, with how it went down in the playoffs, yeah, you're not going to look as good. But here is the thing that I want to bring up. Jordan Binnington did not need to be pulled in any of those 7 games against the Winnipeg Jets. Connor Hellebuck, 3 games that he got pulled. So I hate to be, bringing up Connor Hellebuck, but it's the truth. You see Jordan Binnington succeed beyond doubt when the games really do matter. And I know there's going to be people that say, hell, 1.6 seconds, he couldn't stop that. It's the bleeping defense. You cannot tell me that Jordan Binnington didn't play lights out hockey between the pipes. It was the defense, point blank, period. Even Colton Parayko did not look as good in net. So I'm just saying it for how it is. I am getting heated when this is a momentous moment. Speaking of momentous moments, I want to talk to you about my friends over at Game Time. College football is back. And honestly, there's nothing better than the energy of the tailgates and being in the stands with your fellow fans. The only downside is trying to get tickets. Endless queues and hidden fees and prices that jump at checkout. That's why I use Game Time, the app that gives the advantage back to the fans. It's the easiest way to score last minute tickets at the best prices with no surprise fees. What you see is what you pay. Personally, I love Game Time so much, okay? And in just a couple taps, I got such amazing deals. Listen, I went to school out in West Virginia. Yep, that's right. Morgantown, West Virginia. Go ears. And I am looking to go back to my home and go to a game. Probably a game that they're going to lose, but nonetheless, a game. And Game Time is giving me the best deals. So, this is what you need to do. You need to take the guesswork out of buying college football tickets with Game Time and download the Game Time app, create an account, and use promo code Locked On NHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDON NHL for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Game Time today. I don't know about you, but I'm feeling 22. Ooh. I also can't sing as I try to do that again. It actually probably sounded worse, but 22. Suitor? Wait, you have a Ryan Suitor sweater? Oh, well, I have good news for you is that's now a Pius Suitor sweater. Oh, what? Yeah, that's his new number now. He was 24 with Vancouver, but now with the Blues, Pius Suitor is going to be 22. And I was kind of laughing a little bit when the Blues posted this because it did get me thinking in a sense of how ironic that is. Now, I'm assuming that he just tried to get somewhere in the 20s, right? But it is funny where, we talk about sweaters. You can pre-order the new note on September 3rd, that sweater. So my lovely knockoff that does not look anything like the actual sweater can be replaced. But it was something that was so funny to me. And I know it's silly. We talk about a couple of things on the show that sometimes are a little bit goofy, but it does matter to us hockey fans. Numbers matter. And when the Blues today posted about P.U. Suter being number 22, uh, I was cracking up. And, oh man, uh, it's really ridiculous. But I also want to do something kind of fun right now because I feel like this is the part of the off season where we can have so much fun with some little things. So I'm going to do something as I stated. And this is what I like to call the number game. So, as I stated, P.U. Suter chose to wear number 22. Prior to that was Ryan Suter, and it's going to go down in history. But Ron's sweater was 22. It's so funny. I actually find that stuff really funny. And there's different players that have different numbers that, in all honesty, at the end of the day, you're not going to wear it again. Like, obviously, you're not going to wear 24 again, just, with the history. But, um, it just like Ian Cole, so random. Like, he wore 23. Logan Mayhew is going to be 23 now. Like, there's different like players that stick out to me. I don't know why it is. But anyways, let's go talk about number 18 because this might be a number that potentially could be retired one day in my opinion. Do you think Robert Thomas is good enough to where they're going to retire number 18? And it's so funny because you look at the first player to ever wear it, Larry Keenan. from 68 to 71. And now you look at Robert Thomas and all the players in between. Doug Evans, 1986. There's different players that really, Reddy Dvorak. Like, there's just so many like random players that I always think of. Now, which is really interesting to me, is number 17. And why is that? Listen, I love Cam Fowler, okay? You love him, I love him, but I can't help but still associate 17 with Jaden Schwartz. And yes, it was his number from 2015 to 2021, but there are certain players for me that I'm always going to associate the number with, if that makes sense. And it is funny, like Bushnevich is the only player to have 89. Vladdy is the only player to wear 91. A lot of players actually don't wear like, the higher numbers. Justin Folk, only player to wear 72. Zach Bolduc was the only player to wear 76, right? It's so interesting when you look at the history of numbers. Now, I do think Jordan Binnington's number 50, will be retired. Prior to Binnington having it in 2016, it wasn't actually occupied for about 6 years. The last person was Chris Mason from 2010. But again, only 3 players have worn that number. There's a lot of popular numbers, right, that we kind of look at in the NHL. And one of those numbers is number 30. And Joel Hofer has that occupied. But I think of Martin Brodeur. Martin, and then Ben Bishop. I know everyone's like Ben Bishop. No, but I'm telling you, like the the chokehold that number has is actually insanity. Tage Thompson, by the way, with number 32. Listen, that obviously Tage never, really stuck around, but we don't have to get into that right now because that makes me a little bit upset. A number that hasn't been used since he's played here has been number 29. That was Vince Dunn. He was the last player to occupy. But I also think of Steve Ott. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's just so many random like sweaters, and I always think of random players. And I hope that this is like a fun game for you as well. Oh, Jacob Vanra. Number 15. But I was actually a little bit surprised. Okay, like number 15 has a good amount of players, right? But I was a little bit surprised that nobody picked up 15 for this season. The new guys, especially, just because I feel like that's a really good hockey number in my personal opinion. 13, I like 13. Alexei Turchenko obviously has it, but I like the unlucky 13. I actually think it makes it lucky. 10 is a really popular number. That's our captain, Braden Shen. Oh, Scotty Upshaw. I forgot he had it for a season. Oh, man. Bringing back some memories. Um, Andy McDonald. Yes. Dallas Drake. That's what I associate number 10 with Dallas Drake. Let's go back and see. Oh yeah, Coach Montgomery. He was number 10 back in the day. 1994, by the way, for Mountie. So goes a little bit back there, obviously. It's just so, I don't know. I hope you find this fascinating too. Um, for me personally, I did not plan on doing a whole episode about sweaters, but again, it is just one of those things that I feel like brings back a lot of good conversation. And for me personally, well, hey, I'm all about having a little throwback blues conversation. Now, a number that I don't want to see a player wear for a little while is number 4 because yes, that was Nicoletti's number, and that just honestly traumatized me because whenever I would see 4 on the ice, I'm like, oh no, something bad is about to go down. But obviously, I know that um, it's just inevitable. So my favorite number actually is 19, something that you may not have known about me. I don't think I ever talked about it. And it hasn't been used for a while. Baumeister was the last one. But anyways, when I associate number 19, it's weird because I feel like I have to then kind of go back a little bit in time. And I'm not trying to be like, oh, DJ King wasn't good. But it's like one of those things where there wasn't really a player that had 19 for that extended of a period. A lot of guys actually in 1974 occupied 19. It was like crazy. I think it was like 5 different players. But the point is, the conversation was fun. And I hope this brought back some good memories for all of you. I'm going to stop before I go crazy. I do want to let you know that you should like and subscribe to Locked On Blues here on YouTube at Locked On Blues and on Twitter at Locked On Blues as well, or X, whatever you want to call it. So I think it's really important for you and I to have this discussion because I have been talking about this all off season about how I feel like this St. Louis Blues team is a lot better than they were a year ago. And on August 20th, it was the beautiful date of the 1 year anniversary where Dylan Holloway and Philip Broberg officially became members of the St. Louis Blues because of the denial, the unwillingness to match the offer sheets. Um, in my personal opinion, Edmonton they really messed up in my opinion. But anyways, let's go talk a little bit about what went down again with that because I feel like we kind of just we talked about it, but I just for whatever reason didn't really necessarily give all the details. I think it's for me personally, I just assumed but I can't do that. So anyways, Broberg's contract was 9.16 milli, um, 4.58 milli AAV, and resulted in a second round pick in the 2025 NHL draft. And Holloway's contract was 4.58 milli, 2.9 milli AAV, which resulted in a third round pick. So again, these 2 year contracts, that's why right now we do need to eventually have the conversation of when do we resign them and how much do we extend them for? And I think that's a big question for Doug Armstrong because evidently this is going to fall on him, not seen yet. But I think for both of these players, they have proven to you that they are worth the money. I know there was a lot of people, Edmonton fans, in my comments section that were like telling me that they would not be worth the money. And I disagreed since day one. These are two very young players with a lot of room to still grow and develop. And what we saw out of them this past season is like they're in the middle right now, right? That they develop beautifully in Edmonton. So again, thank you, Edmonton, in the AHL. And then they only have to the ceiling to go. And if they play the way that they did this past season and continue to improve, give them all the money in the world. And I don't really mean that, so I don't want people to take that the wrong way, but they're going to be worth the money. This is a really good Blues team. And I know the defense might be a little scary right now, but somebody said to me in my comment section, I appreciate all of my everydayers that comment. So please comment if you want to continue the Blues talk even after the episode ends. My optimism seemed down. And that all stemmed from Zach Bolduc being traded. And I don't think necessarily that my optimism is down. I think I was very disappointed with Bolduc being traded away. However, we now have Logan Mayu, who, while didn't play the good 7 games that he played with the Canadians, he has a lot of potential. I mean, he is a really good player. He exceeded in the AHL. He was an all-star in the AHL. So I think for me, I need to trust that Doug and company made the right decisions, and I need to trust our young talent. So that is why training camp, it's going to be so big for me because I need to see how they specifically are developing. I am so excited to tell you, by the way, that tomorrow night, wait, I'll do like the Love Island if anybody knows what that is. Tomorrow night, a bombshell enters Locked On Blues, and that will be my friend Dylan. You all know Dylan. Dylan usually does an episode or two with me every single month. It's just two friends basically sitting at a bar without the alcohol talking about the blues. So Dylan and I have a lot to catch up on because we are getting ready now to preview the season, to talk about the upcoming training camp. Like, there is a lot that's going to go down with the Blues. So make sure to tune in tomorrow. And with all of that being said, how I end every single episode. How do I end every single episode? Well, let's say it together. Let's go Blues.